Whelan Presley and Van Ho Funeral Homes have been serving Quad City families and veterans for over 100 years. Whelan Presley is located in Rock Island, Milan, Reynolds, and Van Ho in East Moline, proudly supporting WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.
A freshman Iowa lawmaker throws his hat in the ring to become Davenport's mayor. We talk with State Representative Ken Crokin about his candidacy and what changes he wants to see in the cities. The city's biggest city faces a chance to decide the future this November when Davenport voters go to the polls to select new council members and a new mayor. Mayor Mike Matson says he wants a third term to lead the city, but freshman State Representative Ken Crokin is now in the running as well. Representative Crokin just finished his first legislative session as a Democrat in a Republican-controlled state legislature. We talked with Crokin about the session that's behind him and the race that's ahead of him. So why did you want to run for mayor? Why did you throw your hat in the ring?
Well, I've been troubled by the direction of city government for many months now. I don't see the kind of transparency and accountability that I think the people of Davenport deserve. And the final trigger for me, of course, was the collapse of the Davenport apartment building and the subsequent revelations that came out about the months and weeks leading up to it.
You're referring to the inspections that were going on ahead of time?
The inspections that were going on. And, you know, I recently came into possession of a fire department leadership team meeting dated February 3rd, in which the building was referred to, and I quote, as a death trap. Well, you know, that's 4 months before the death trap collapsed. You know, when your city fire department calls a building a death trap, you act.
Well, let's talk about that, because as you well know, the city that you would lead as mayor is going to be liable for a lot of that.
Yeah.
I mean, are the people that used to live in the Davenport going to own the city of Davenport because of the liability that the city has?
I believe that it will be a staggering financial impact. Now, our city attorney, keeps making reference to sovereign immunity. I don't believe that applies here. If in fact, and the facts are not all in yet, so, you know, we need to bear that in mind as we talk about it, but sovereign immunity, which, as you probably know, refers to the inability of citizens to sue the government for everything that unfortunate happens in their lives. But it doesn't apply when there's negligence, gross negligence, or criminality. You know, and we've got allegations of altering city documents. And again, certainly I believe it amounts to gross negligence when you know about an impending danger for months on end and take no action. So yes, I believe the city may well be liable for what is now, I think, 7 lawsuits. And when you look at the collapse of the apartment building in Florida, when was that? Not that long ago. That went into the billions, the final payout. But again, I wish the city was more focused on the people that live in the building rather than the building. I think, you know, I spent a lot of years in healthcare, and you know, there has historically always been this belief impression that if something unfortunate happens in healthcare, well, you just stonewall. You have nothing to say, and you agree to nothing. And now, in fact, research says that you do much better when you are transparent, you are forthcoming, you apologize for your mistakes, you acknowledge how you would have done different, that people end up understanding and forgiving to the degree you can forgive when one is straightforward and attempts to reach a settlement and make good on past mistakes, rather than simply trying to avoid responsibility. That's not a good look.
What would you do as far as the building inspection team is concerned? I mean, does that entire area need a greater focus? Do you start there as a new mayor to say, wait, this is where the problem lied?
Well, again, I'm not sure if we have a process problem or a people problem at this point. We have an inspection system. Maybe there's something wrong with our system. I would need to understand that better. But in this instance, it appears to me that we just didn't follow up. We knew things were in horrible disrepair, and that the building was at jeopardy of falling down. And we never evacuated the building. We never pursued the landlord. We just simply failed to act on the information that was available to me. Now, everyone keeps talking about a forthcoming investigation. When's it going to start? And who's doing the investigating? You know, in one instance, the city apparently accepted an engineer's report that was paid for by the landlord. I'm not sure that's a prudent approach to situations like this. That's putting the fox inside the hen house, right? I don't know that we should be doing that. And in light of the failure of leadership so far, and the crisis in confidence that I think is evident in the city, I believe is evident in the city, I'm not sure the city should be doing its own investigation.
This also underlines a problem of housing, of course, and community after community, it's an issue of affordable housing.
Right.
As mayor, what would you be able to do to improve the housing in the city of Davenport?
Right. Yeah. No, there's no question about it. We have a real crisis of affordable and, of course, now quite evidently, safe housing. And the Davenport apartment building is not the only example of that. It's not that too long ago when we had another issue where we vacated a group of garden apartments north of Kimberly. You remember that, Jim? And I was able to visit some of those facilities. It was nightmarish. There were...
But what do you do about it?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, you use the tools you have to start. You inspect, and then you enforce the results of the inspection. Simply giving people more time to make repairs, I think, is part of the problem. The other, I think, issue we need to address is out-of-town landlords. I mean, we don't want to paint with too broad a brush here. There are many responsible landlords operating in Davenport and around the Quad Cities who are providing a genuine need to the people of this region. But there are also a number of corporate and out-of-town landlords who are not committed to that well-being. And we we need to ensure that we're keeping close tabs on them. And when we find I don't like this phrase, but I'm going to use it anyway. When we find a bad apple, that's where we focus the resources we have, monitoring those situations and shutting them down when push comes to shove. And back to the issue that we were talking about of affordability, the horrors that I saw in those garden apartments, vermin, bugs, holes in floors. What was most shocking to me was that people were begging to stay there because there was nowhere else to go. No one should live like that, and for no one should that be the best option.
Going on right now is Amazon is hiring for the large warehouse and a facility that they have in Northwest Davenport. About a year after they were supposed to. It's been a while. There's been a delay. As you well know, the city of Davenport gave lots of incentives for Amazon to be there. Is that too risky to do?
Every situation is different, of course. No, I think incentives are a smart economic development practice. It goes on all the time, and in order to grow our population, and we must grow our population, in order to grow our population and ensure the future economic vitality of this community, we have to make deals and we have to be competitive. Now, I think there's many more tools in that toolbox than we're currently using, but that's another question and maybe a whole different conversation. But I think we need to make our deals, but we need to make them enforceable. If you don't do meet the commitments you've made, then the city should have the ability to back out of it. But I think we're making a lot of deals that aren't in the best interest of the people of Davenport. And I think the best example of that was the unfortunate deal made with Canadian Pacific Railroad, and accepting the first offer that was made to us was, I think, unwise. Selling perhaps our best asset for, I think it was $10 million, was selling way too cheap. I was at a city council meeting just this past week when I got a text from a constituent who told me that access to the river from the village of East Davenport was denied by a parked train that was there for well over an hour, and so long that you couldn't walk around it or anything. So essentially, there was no riverfront. You couldn't reach it. We have a wonderful baseball stadium and a wonderful team that people have been known to miss half the game by being stuck on the city side of the railroad tracks when even a moving train can take forever. We needed to get greater access to the riverfront through the construction of overhead passageways or some other mechanism. Maybe there was an underground solution to this problem, or perhaps we should have negotiated to move the tracks out to I-80, that corridor. I don't know what it was, but and I was not directly involved, nor was I invited to be involved, although as a state representative, I felt I should have had a role. But
well, let's talk about that too. Is that you're a freshman state representative?
Yeah.
You got done with your first session. Right. For the people that voted for you, now you want to be mayor. Mm-hmm. I mean, why are you do you feel that you're letting down your constituents by leaving your job in Des Moines?
Well, I have two perspectives on that. First and foremost, it needs to be understood that I don't give up my role in Des Moines in order to run for mayor. If I win, I have to give up my seat in Des Moines. But if I don't win, I go back to Des Moines in January and resume my term. I would not be up for re-election until November of 2024 for
for your 2-year term.
For my 2-year term. So that's up to the people of Davenport. I have had a number of emails from people saying, because I put it out to my constituents to say, what do you think I ought to do here? And I was really pleased and surprised by the response. And while I was encouraged to run by the overwhelming majority of the responses, but some said, well, we need you in Des Moines, so I wish you would stay there. As a member of the minority party, and not just a minority party, the GOP has a super majority. There was not one Democratic amendment accepted by the GOP this past year. The only power I have in Des Moines right now is the microphone, the ability to speak on these issues. And in my announcement, I made clear to the public that I do not intend to be a mayor who focuses only on economic development and potholes. I intend to also champion the public policy issues that are important to the people of Davenport. Reproductive health. You know, more than half of the people of Davenport are women, and they have made very clear that the state action to virtually ban all abortion in the state is not a good look for Iowa.
Let's take that issue, because, of course, it is going into the court system,
right,
where everyone knew it was going to be adjudicated at some point.
Yeah.
As a Democrat, you fought against it. The Republican majority, of course, approved it. The governor had pushed it through.
Right.
As mayor, you can't really do anything about that. What can you do as mayor?
I can do exactly what I did as state representative, which is to point out the truth of the whole abortion issue. And among those principles...
And you feel that's your job as mayor?
Oh, I think it's certainly my job as mayor to represent the interest of all of the people of Davenport, including women. Absolutely. I also think it's my job as mayor to speak out on the voucher issue that will, over time, and not much time, create a two-tiered system of education where low-income children will be limited to public education, and the rich will go to private education. I think that's very much an issue that a mayor of a city of our size and of our demographics ought to be a very vocal advocate for.
Would you be also a vocal advocate then for LGBTQ issues?
You bet.
And how would you fall on that issue?
Well, again, you know, the city of Davenport, part of the branding of the city is to make Davenport a welcoming community. Well, how welcoming is Davenport as a part of the state of Iowa welcoming to the LGBT community when we won't acknowledge LGBT rights? You know, this past session, we had a bill introduced, happily it went nowhere, that would deny marriage equality. We would actually go back in time. Yes, that's very much an issue. Again, I alluded to it earlier, but the economic vitality of Davenport and the Quad City region depends on us growing our population. Can we afford to tell the LGBT community you're not welcome in Iowa and in Davenport, particularly when you're so close to the border and an alternative is so readily available?
Talking about Illinois.
Absolutely.
You had mentioned also that you didn't want to be a mayor in regards to potholes.
Yeah.
But infrastructure is so critically important in Davenport, and you do know that the west side is an area that believes that it's been crumbling and it's been neglected for a long time.
Right.
What do you do then?
Well, let me be clear. I don't want to be exclusively the mayor of potholes. Infrastructure is a vitally important function of the city council. And I think we need to just stop one moment and remember that the mayor of Davenport, we have a strong council, weak mayor system of government. The mayor doesn't even vote except in the tie-breaking situation. So the role of the mayor is the bully pulpit and bringing to the city government, our opportunities for improvement. So again, I think that strengthens my position that it's very important that the mayor take a broader look at these issues of quality of life.
Democratic State Representative Ken Crokin, candidate for mayor of Davenport. We should note Mayor Mike Matson has announced he too is running and seeks his third term in office, and we'll talk with Mayor Matson in the coming weeks. Laura Adams is joining us, though, right now with some great ideas for your entire family if you want to go out and about.
This is Out and About for August 25th through 31st. Mow Live at the Vibrant Arena at the Mark, August 25th and 26th. That's on the River is an all-Corvette show at the LeClaire Levee on the 26th beginning at 8. The new Boston Annual Fish and Chicken Fry. Or check out the Aledo Antique Days and Car Show in Aledo's Historic District the 26th from 9 to 4. The Village of East Davenport hosts Farm Days in the Village on the 26th. Bishop Hill hosts their annual Chautauqua the 26th and 27th, while the Milan Harvest Festival takes place at Camden Park August 31st through September 4th. Or head down to Schwiebert Park for Thursday Night Groove on the 31st. Ballet Quad Cities kick off their new season at the Outing Club for Ballet on the Lawn. On Stage, Circa 21 continues their production of Escaped Margaritaville. Circle Mirror Transformation closed their run at Playcrafters Barn Theater through the 27th. Over the River and Through the Woods at Richmond Hills Players in Geneseo finish their run the weekend of the 27th, while House of Raucous presents Jacques Elope, where hilarity ensues at the Black Box Theater the 25th and 26th. And Grace Community Church of the Nazarene present a bluegrass gospel concert on the 25th. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. Mo Carter has been busy performing on stages throughout the cities over the past few weeks. The self-styled charismatic troubadour visited us at Moline's Black Box Theater a few months ago to perform one of her originals. Here's Mo Carter with Hardware Man.
Between the hills
Carter with Hardware Man performed at the Black Box Theater in downtown Moline. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Whelan Presley and Van Ho Funeral Homes have been serving Quad City families and veterans for over 100 years. Whelan Presley is located in Rock Island, Milan, Reynolds, and Van Ho in East Moline, proudly supporting WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.